What is good, YouTube? Hope everyone is doing well. I'm back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Edison video. Today I'm making a deck profile of X-Sabers. So yesterday I played at a local with X-Sabers. I went 4-0. Actually managed to beat 3 Blackwing decks. Back to back to back, which is pretty cool because I think the Blackwing matchup for this deck is in theory quite average. So yeah, basically the main reason why I'm making this video is that when I started playing Edison at the start of this year, I really wanted to play X-Sabers because I just think they're like a really fun deck to play. Obviously they're not like tier 1, but you know, I just think they're fun to play. And I was looking online, like on Edison.com and YouTube and stuff for an X-Saber list, and I think there wasn't many good ones out there, to be quite frank. A lot of the lists were playing like quite gimmicky cards, I think, anyways, like Level Limit and like Gold Sark and stuff like that, which are fine cards, but like I think they are a bit gimmicky. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to put a list out there in case anyone is in a similar spot that I was, that's looking for a kind of list to play. Yeah, I'm not saying this is like groundbreaking or anything, but like it's just pretty solid. I've just been testing it over the last few months and kind of tweaking it here and there. I'll probably still continue to do that, but like this is a pretty good starting point, I think, anyways. So yeah, I guess I'll just show you the list. So it's we're playing three Air Bellum, 3 Full Helm, 3 Emma's Blade, and 3 Foltrol. I think these numbers are pretty like mandatory. Yeah, I just don't see any point in playing any less of these, really. Like, you could maybe make an argument for playing 2 Foltrol, but I guess you basically just always want it in hand, I suppose. Like, sometimes in multiples it can suck, but like, you know, whatever. And then maybe you could cut like a Full Helm and play like 2 rotor, 1 rotor, 2 Full Helm. But I think like with the milling that I play in this deck, I think it would rather the extra monster. So I'd like obviously rather mill a Full Helm than a rotor. So yeah, I think those are like pretty standard. I'm playing the regular package. So yeah, like I mean, I could see cutting this package as well, but basically what I kind of found was that, well, what I think is that if you're going to play X-Sabers, you may as well play like a combo, you know, pop off build. If you're going to try to play a more mid-rangey kind of grindy version of X-Sabers, you may as well just play another deck. Let's be real, like the deck is not that great at doing that. So I just thought, like, if I'm going to pop off and combo, I just want to go hard. So playing Rango lets me do that basically, and it's really fun to, like, you know, discard your opponent's entire hand. I did that against Blackwings in the first match of the locals. I did it turn 1. I just discarded 5 cards and ended with 3 cards myself. I had like a Foltrol on a board, a Set Spell Trap, and like a monster card in hand. So basically wind up loop them. So yeah, pretty fun. And yeah, it's just like you just pop off. You can infinite like loop with the army arms and such. So yeah, it's really nice. I'm playing Cat, which is like the nuts, and then I'm playing Summon Monk as well. So yeah, I've tested like no Summon Monk and playing Summon Monk, and again it's the same thing where I just like, if I'm popping off, like I want to really like pop off, and Summon Monk just lets you do that. Obviously it can lead to some inconsistencies where you draw Cat and Summon Monk, which sucks. But yeah, the play where you make Arcanite and you know, Air Bellum and shit is really nice. And yeah, it's just a pop off. And obviously Cat is like the absolute nuts in this deck. I mean, making a free level 5 is great, putting an X-Saber in grave, or getting 2 Air Bellums, and like ditching 2 cards or whatever. You know, 2 Air Bellums into Foltrol is crazy. So yeah, Cat's just the absolute stone cold nuts. So that's basically like the engine of the deck, I would say. And then the non-engine monsters I'm playing. So I'm playing 2 Raikou in the main in the deck. So yeah, like like you basically have to play at least 1 Raikou, I would say, just to make your Cat more live. If like you draw, obviously if you draw or you know, mill 2 Air Bellum, then Cat is no longer live, which really sucks because Cat's like the best card in the deck. So I would say you have to play at least 1 Raikou. I could see an argument for playing 3, but I just think space is a little tight in this deck. And yeah, so 2 is pretty good. This card is just like, you know, it's pretty sufficient like by itself. You know, it can hit back row, so it helps you play into back row. It's good against most decks. Really, like, it only sucks if you like have to set it going second against Highest. That's kind of annoying, but you know, whatever. And yeah, it's just a good card by itself, which you can't really say for most of the other cards in this deck, unfortunately, as it's like a kind of combo deck. And then the same can be said with Card Trooper. I mean, it's just good for getting over like higher attack monsters that replaces itself. And yeah, it's pretty good by itself. It's pretty self-sufficient. And obviously, I think milling is quite good in this deck. as you basically always want X-Sabers in grave. Obviously, you have little ways to kind of get them back and recur them, but yeah, so milling is quite good. And yeah, these cards just like are really by themselves and help you do that. So I think they're pretty good inclusions. For spells, I play 3 Book of Moon. I think this is absolutely staple in X-Sabers, obviously with Full Helm Knight's effect, where it kills a defense position monster and brings it back from the grave. Yeah, that's like that is like really relevant. So I think like, and the fact that this deck struggles with high attack monsters, obviously Book of Moon helps with that as well, and it's just a pretty solid defensive card. Like I think this card is a bit overrated, like and in general. I don't think it's like that great, but I think obviously in this deck, I think it's like, yeah, it's just a staple of 3. I don't think there's any way you can play less. Typhoon, obviously, Storm, Brain Control, Mind Control, Cold Wave. I was a bit like iffy on Cold Wave for a little while. I've been testing like maining trap stuns instead and stuff like that, but I think Cold Wave just does like the best job at kind of the role that I'm looking for. And yeah, as I mentioned, like I'm not looking to play super mid-rangey. I'm just trying to pop off, and at least game 1. Game 2 I can side out. I side out some of the shit sometimes. Like I'll side out like one Full-On and like a Ragged Gura and maybe like a Full Troll here and there. If I'm siding in a bunch of cards against like Black Wings, for example, I'll try to play a bit more like, you know, controlled and such. But yeah, at least game 1, I'm just trying to pop off. Like that's basically the gist of it. For the traps, we're playing 3 Yordams. Yep, I probably wouldn't want to play any less of this card. Yeah, obviously sometimes it's really dead because you can't get going, and like, you know, you don't get any X-Sabers in bin or what have you, and that sucks obviously. But yeah, when this like actually resolves, it's so good. It basically just turns you can just turn the game on its head like completely by just bringing back, you know, say you have just like an Air Bell in hand, which is like by itself sometimes like quite a brick. And then in grave you have like, I don't know, Ragged Gura, let's say like Full Helm and like a Full Troll. So you just Gotems back the Ragged Gura and the what do you call it? The Full Helm, add Full Troll back to hand, summon Full Troll, and then you combo, and then like the game's over. So it's kind of like a 1-card win in some situations, and yeah, it's just insane. So I think 3 is probably the right number as well. I'm playing 2 Deep Prison and two Bottomless. I'm basically just a resident like Bottomless and Deep Prison stand at this point in pretty much every Edison deck. Yeah, I don't know what to say. They're good cards, and like the thing with these cards in this deck is that these cards turn Airbellum into a real threat by itself. Like as I mentioned, a lot of the X-Saber cards are kind of bad by themselves, and you need like a few of them to kind of work together to make a play or like to do anything. Whereas Bottomless and Prison allow you to obviously remove your opponent's monster from the game, and then Airbell actually becomes like a threat by itself to discard an opponent's card. So like they have to waste a Bottomless on it, or a fucking, you know, Mirror Force or Prism or whatever. Like a card that would potentially stop one of your pushes on an Airbellum just by itself, which is actually really nice. So I mean, I think that these cards are pretty good in this deck, and yeah, pretty good in Edison in general. I'm playing Call the Haunted. I could definitely see cutting this card, but it's just another extender. Basically, yeah, sometimes like you struggle to get 2 X-Sabers on the board to Full Troll and stuff, so this obviously just helps with that. You can call Rescue Cat, which is kind of cool as well. If I have Trooper in bin, I can chain call to Trooper to draw a card. If it gets like Typhoon or Storm or whatever, it's fine. Like it's a card you could cut, but like I think it's pretty solid. Judgment obviously, and then Mirror Force and Dust Shoot obviously. And the last card I play is 1 Starlight Road, so this was kind of a last minute inclusion into the for the deck for the locals. I haven't tested it too much, but I just have like in theory it's like pretty solid. Like Torrential is obviously a card that really kind of hinders your players, obviously. Like sometimes you just and Mirror Force to an extent as well, like certainly lesser, but like somewhat as well. So there's a lot of times where you're like, man, if my opponent just has like a Mirror Force or Torrential, I'm kind of just fucked here. So having Starlight Road obviously just helps with that kind of cause. And then I figured that this card has like a hidden, not hidden, but like an extra kind of interaction in this deck specifically, where you Rescue Cat into 2 Airbellum and they Bottomless, and it destroys both, so you can Starlight Road. And I was like, maybe that makes this card maybe that makes Starlight Road good enough to main deck. And that actually did come up against a Blackwing match I played, where I usually would have gone into Airbellum and Raikou. And made a level 5 Synchro, but I kind of read for some reason I just thought they had Bottomless. So I was like, okay, I'll make 2 Airbellum and then just bait the start and then Starlight Road. So that was pretty cool. And then the last thing is this with this deck, I think that this deck kind of suffers from a similar things that GBs do, in my opinion, for kind of like very different reasons. But it's like basically GBs is like very fragile, and you summon a monster, which is like a Laquari or a Bestiari, and it's basically a vanilla, right? It's like, it doesn't do anything at that stage, so you have to like set a bunch of aggro to protect it. Otherwise, if it dies, you kind of just lose sometimes. And then obviously the trade-off is if your opponent has Storm, then the game's over. Like if you're playing GBs, you set 2 spell traps and you summon like a Laquari, and they Storm you, kill both, and then like they kill your Laquari, like that's just GG. So GBs you have to like set back row and lose the Storm sometimes. So you play like Starlight Road. But in this deck it's kind of the same thing, except you want to set like your monsters are kind of fragile, but you want to usually set like a defense trap, like say like a Deep Prison or like a Bottomless or some shit, right? And then you also want to set like your extended trap, like Gotems. So you're like pretty much forced to set 2 like quite often. And then if your opponent storms you, it's just really hard. It's really hard to come back from. So yeah, Starlight Road kind of lets you set more, lets you set your defense and extenders at the same time and not really care too much. So I think Starlight Road is actually like decent in the main deck in this deck specifically, but I think in other decks it's kind of average. So yeah, I'm just playing it. It's work in progress. We'll see how we go. The extra is community check for the Sub-Dragon side deck, whatever. 2 Armory Arm, which is sometimes comes up just because of the Ragagura combos. Like sometimes you actually need 2 to kind of like fully pop off. I certainly could consider cutting 1, but for now there's just 2 Armory Arm there. Catasta obviously for 5s. Android's great. Hyunlei. Yeah, like I think a common misconception about X-Sabers in Edison specifically is that you like go into Hyunlei every single game, which is just not the case. There's quite a few games where you just don't make this card at all. So I think like people like will often side in like multiple site roads against X-Sabers, where I think that's a bit misplaced because yeah, as I mentioned, like some games you just don't go into this at all. So side road's completely dead, of course, except for Torrential and Heavystorm and fucking Mirror Force. So yeah, Dryanak and Goyo just kind of have to be there, I suppose. Eidolon's kind of just the nuts. Yeah, when it actually uses its effect, it's kind of like game breaking. It's just a Phoenix Wing Blast on legs, basically. And yeah, it's really just nice to make when you Brain Control or Mind Control one of their level 4s, and you make this just to put an X-Saber name in bin, basically, so you can Gotems it back or what have you, so it's really nice. Arcanitis for some Monk players, and Black Rose is just there because it has to be. For the only rank 8 I play start 1 Stardust, I'm maining a Starlight Road, I'm starting a Starlight Road, and sometimes you make it organically, so I could see bumping this up to 2. I can also see adding another rank 8 like Colossal Fighter or what have you. That actually came up in the locals. I wanted to make Colossal, but I couldn't, so it actually like kind of lost me a game there. But yeah, extra space is really tight in this deck, so I have to think about like what I'm cutting to kind of make room for more of these rank 8s, which is not Gotems. So 2 Gotems is probably the right number, I think. Like I probably wouldn't play 3, but yeah, sometimes you definitely need the second one to actually keep going. And then Mistworm, like I might cut this card as well. So when I originally started playing X-Sabers a few months ago, I found that Mistworm was coming up quite frequently, which may have just been me like misplaying or something, because lately it just hasn't come up at all. So this might be a cut, but yeah, I guess we'll see how we go. And then for the sideboard, it's like whatever. It's 2 Cyber Dragon for pretty obvious reasons. This deck struggles with getting over decently sized monsters, so Cyber Dragon really helps with that. You can also make a pretty easy rank 8 with all your level 3 tuners. So against like a deck like Black Wings or sort of like Raikou dot deck, you can just make Stardust pretty easily, which is really nice. 2 Crow for whatever. Crow's like good. Frog is a bit of a scary matchup for this deck. The fact that you have a hard enough time basically getting 2 X-Sabers on board, and then against Frogs, like they have like 3 Caius and Rise and whatever, and Soul Exchanges and enemy control, like that kind of stuff. So it's hard to keep a monster on board against Frogs sometimes. So yeah, it's quite a scary matchup. I played a 1 My Body. So this was mainly for fairies, just because like if yeah, basically just for Herald. Like it's Herald's would be obviously annoying if you're like trying to pop off. They have no spell traps, and you just think like you're good to go, and then I just dropped a card. And then they like Herald you, and you're like, oh, shit. So yeah, this is basically for Herald. I actually kept saying out against Black Wings. I had like too many cards in my board for Black Wings. And I didn't want to side out like my entire engine, so I just kept out against Blackwings, but you could in theory side it in. I sided sole release as well for frogs, just in case. Yeah, not much to say about it. I wouldn't, yeah, whatever. I've started 3 trap stuns, so this is basically my choice of spell and trap hate. And yeah, I really like trap stun. I think it's pretty much better than Dust Tornado in most scenarios. Obviously, if your opponent has like Future Fusion or Black Whirlwind and shit like that, it's kind of rough. But yeah, trap stun's just the nuts for fighting through multiple back row. And then I found like I just thought like trap stun was way better against oppression as well, because yeah, obviously you can just shut oppression off on your turn, and then on your opponent's next turn, it's back on, and you can stop their blizzard or their fucking plague spreader, dark arms, whatever. So I think like trap stun's really kind of the nuts as the spell and trap hate in this deck. I could definitely see a world where I play Dust Tornado as well, and I go to like 2 and 2, or maybe like 3 and 1 or 3 and 2 or some shit. But like for now, it's just 3 trap stun, and yeah, it helped me like a lot. 2 light and Prism Mirror for the light decks. Yeah, I'll just say that. Obviously, you play Raikou, but it's whatever. It's not much of a conflict. And then 2 Rug for Monarchs as well. So I mean, I don't think I'm siding against any other deck. Maybe like Quick Draw that are playing like 3 Kaias and Debris and such. But yeah, it's mainly just obviously for frogs. I sided the second road against basically just Blackwings specifically, and it did come up when I play against 3 Blackwings, obviously, which is nice. And the third Deep Prison is yeah, it's just a good card, really. I mean, there's not much to say about it. So that's the deck. Yeah, I definitely don't think X-Sabers is like a tier 1 deck. Like, it's probably, if we're doing like an SA tier, whatever, it's probably like a B tier deck, to be honest. Maybe E and C, but yeah, it's really fun, and it's not as bad. I don't think it's bad as people think. I'm actually thinking of doing a tier list video soon, which I'll probably upload. So yeah, I guess subscribe for some more Edison content, and thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you next time.